Welcome to Global Byte. Please subscribe and hit the bell icon for more breaking updates. A chill has descended on Minnesota, and it's not just the icy grip of winter that's settling over the state. There's a tension in the air, a sense that something historic is unfolding right here in the heartland. Beneath the snow-covered streets, people are anxious, conversations are hushed, and the usual rhythms of daily life have been disrupted by a crisis that's bigger than the weather. Today, January 29, 2026, Minnesota stands at the heart of a constitutional crisis shaking the nation. The eyes of America and the world are fixed on this state, as events here threaten to reshape the very foundation of American democracy. Thousands of federal immigration agents have flooded the state, igniting protests, legal battles, and violence in Minneapolis and St. Paul. The presence of armed agents on city streets has left many residents feeling both fearful and defiant. The world is watching as questions of state sovereignty, civil liberties, and executive power come to a head. News crews from around the globe have descended on Minnesota, capturing every moment of this unfolding drama. The aggressive tactics of ICE have alarmed civil rights advocates and legal scholars, raising urgent questions about the balance of power. Legal experts warn that the outcome here could set precedents for generations to come. Minnesota officials, backed by much of the public, argue that the federal operation is a dangerous overreach threatening public safety and constitutional protections. They insist that the state has a duty to defend its residents and uphold the values enshrined in the Constitution. This is not just a policy dispute, it's a battle over the character of the nation and the relationship between government and the governed. The debates raging in legislative chambers and on the streets reflect deep divisions, but also a shared determination to shape the future. The outcome here will help define the legal and moral landscape for the entire country. What happens in Minnesota will echo far beyond its borders, influencing how America understands justice, liberty, and the rule of law for years to come. Minnesota's crisis is the latest in a long history of federal-state clashes over immigration enforcement. The Constitution gives the federal government power over immigration, but the 10th Amendment reserves police powers to the states. This tension has led to decades of shifting policies, from the 287G program deputizing local police, to sanctuary city policies limiting cooperation with ICE. The Trump administration's aggressive approach views sanctuary cities as adversaries, not partners. Threats of funding cuts, federal raids, and public rhetoric have deepened the divide. The deployment of federal agents in force, as seen now in Minnesota, is the culmination of this philosophy. If a state won't cooperate, the federal government will act directly. This has brought the constitutional crisis to a breaking point. The new year began with an unprecedented federal show of force in Minnesota. 3,000 ICE agents descended on the Twin Cities, launching high-profile raids that sparked fear and outrage. Protests erupted overnight, with thousands denouncing the operation and clashing with agents. Tensions peaked when ICE used tear gas on demonstrators, galvanizing opposition and drawing national attention. State and local officials condemned the operation, arguing it undermined public safety and local law enforcement. The Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension sought court orders to preserve evidence in incidents involving federal agents, signaling deep mistrust. The crisis turned deadly with the shooting of Alex Preddy by ICE agents, transforming the conflict from legal dispute to tragedy. The human cost forced a reckoning at the highest levels of government. The killing of Alex Preddy by ICE agents became the flashpoint of the crisis. Details were scarce, but the impact was immediate. Preddy's death crystallized fears of federal overreach. The Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension, backed by state officials, asserted its authority to investigate, securing a court order to preserve evidence. Vigils for Preddy turned into massive protests, uniting immigrant rights groups, civil liberties advocates, and ordinary citizens. His death gave the conflict a human face, shattering the moral authority of the federal operation. Even conservative voices, like the Wall Street Journal, called the shooting a moral and political debacle. The White House, facing backlash, dispatched officials to rein in ICE and allowed Minnesota to investigate independently. This marked a crucial victory for state sovereignty and justice. As tensions mounted, Minnesota took its fight to court. On January 26, the Attorney General filed a landmark lawsuit seeking to halt the federal operation. The state argued that the deployment of federal agents infringed on its police powers and destabilized communities, violating the 10th Amendment. Minnesota also invoked the equal sovereignty principle, claiming it was unfairly singled out for political reasons. The lawsuit pushed constitutional boundaries, demanding limits on executive power and asserting the state's right to defend its residents. With this filing, Minnesota transformed a political dispute into a fundamental constitutional question for the courts. The legal battle landed before federal district judge Catherine Menendez, who questioned the administration's claims of unchecked authority. A central issue, ICE's use of administrative warrants signed by immigration officials to enter homes, raising Fourth Amendment concerns. The administration argued that undocumented immigrants lack full constitutional protections, a claim widely disputed by legal experts. The Eighth Circuit overruled an injunction protecting protesters, highlighting the uphill battle for the state. However, Judge Eric Tostrud granted the state's request to preserve evidence in the Pretty case, ensuring state oversight. The conflict unfolds in the shadow of a recent Supreme Court decision limiting the executive's domestic use of force. Minnesota's lawyers hope this precedent will influence the court's upcoming ruling, which could alter the crisis's course. The crackdown has sent shockwaves through Minnesota's political, social, and economic fabric, reverberating far beyond the initial targets. The state, long known for its progressive values and vibrant immigrant communities, now finds itself at the center of a storm that is testing its identity and resilience. Politically, the response has deepened divisions, galvanizing Democrats who see the raids as an attack on core values, while energizing some conservatives who argue for stricter enforcement. The crisis has become a flashpoint, ensuring it will dominate state politics for months, if not years, to come. Lawmakers are under pressure to respond, and the debate has spilled into every level of government, from city councils to the governor's office. Socially, the impact is profound. ICE raids have driven immigrant families into hiding, leaving neighborhoods quieter and playgrounds empty. Fear and uncertainty have eroded trust in law enforcement and public institutions, making it harder for officials to keep communities safe. Many residents now hesitate to report crimes or seek help, worried about drawing attention to themselves or their loved ones. Yet, amid the turmoil, the crisis has also forged new alliances. Faith groups, civil rights organizations, and business leaders have united in support of immigrants, organizing rallies, offering legal aid, and sending a clear message that Minnesota's strength lies in its diversity and compassion. Economically, the effects are being felt across key sectors. Agriculture and hospitality, both reliant on immigrant labor, face acute shortages as workers stay home out of fear. Small businesses report declining foot traffic, and some have been forced to reduce hours or close altogether, threatening the livelihoods of owners and employees alike. Minnesota's reputation as a welcoming state is now at risk. Images of conflict and uncertainty are deterring new investment in tourism, while long-standing residents question whether the state they love is changing for the worse. Nationally, other states are watching closely, aware that these tactics could soon be used elsewhere. Minnesota has become a bellwether, a test case for how far enforcement can go before communities push back. The crisis is now a case study in the consequences of maximalist enforcement, raising alarms about the fragility of community trust and the stability of local economies. Experts warn that the long-term effects could ripple for years. What began as a targeted operation has become a national debacle with far-reaching implications, forcing Minnesota and the nation to grapple with difficult questions about justice, belonging, and the true cost of enforcement. To truly understand the depth of this crisis, you have to listen to the people who are living through it every day. Their stories reveal the human cost behind the headlines and the reality of a community grappling with fear, uncertainty, and a sense of isolation. Maria, a mother in Minneapolis, says, "We're living like prisoners in our own home. This is not a life." Her children no longer play outside, and every knock at the door sends a wave of anxiety through the family. For Maria, and many others, daily routines have been upended, replaced by a constant vigilance that wears on both body and spirit. State officials feel betrayed, arguing the federal operation shattered trust and undermined public safety. They say the sudden escalation has left them scrambling to respond, and that the lack of communication from Washington has only deepened the sense of crisis. Local police chiefs struggle to reassure residents that calling for help won't mean a call to ICE. Many officers now find themselves caught between enforcing the law and maintaining the trust of the communities they serve. Some worry that people in need will hesitate to report crimes, making neighborhoods less safe for everyone. Legal experts warn the administration is testing the limits of executive power and threatening foundational rights. They They caution that the legal precedent set here could have far-reaching consequences, not just for Minnesota but for the entire country. The courts are now a battleground for the future of civil liberties. Even some conservatives are uneasy. One business owner says, "My business is down, my employees are scared." You can't run an economy on fear. Across the state, small businesses are struggling as customers stay home, and workers worry about their safety. The economic ripple effects are being felt in every corner of the community. These voices, from fearful families to frustrated officials and concerned business owners, paint a picture of a state under immense strain. The fabric of daily life is fraying, and the sense of unity that once defined these communities is being tested like never before. The crisis is about more than immigration. It's about defending legal principles and community trust. It's about whether the values that have long defined Minnesota, openness, fairness, and respect for the rule of law, can withstand this moment of upheaval. The stakes are high, and the nation is watching. What happens here could set a precedent for how America responds to crisis, and how it treats its most vulnerable residents. Minnesota's experience is a warning and a call to action. The choices made now will echo far beyond state lines, shaping the future for generations to come. As the court prepares to rule, the core issues are clear state sovereignty, community defense, and the limits of federal power. The deployment of federal agents and the death of Alex Priddy have escalated a political disagreement into a constitutional conflict. Where does federal authority end and a state's right to protect its residents begin? The events in Minnesota highlight the dangers of aggressive federal policies and the erosion of trust between law enforcement and communities. Constitutional rights are not abstract. They are the guardrails protecting individuals from government overreach. The need for public engagement has never been greater. Civic participation is the most powerful check on government power. The resolution of this crisis will set a precedent for federal-state relations and civil rights for years to come. The world is watching as Minnesota's choices help define the future of American democracy.